Welcome to the Wrong Words podcast, where we challenge conventional thinkers and explore the depths of language. Hosted by Oliver and Luvon, this podcast is more than a conversation. It's a community, a space for like-minded, contemporary, and unconventional thinkers to gather, question, and grow together. We believe words are powerful. They shape our emotions, define our thoughts, and convey our deepest love. But here's the question. Are we using them correctly? Or have words become a mask, concealing unresolved trauma and filling voids that they were never meant to satisfy? What if we've been misusing them all along? On this journey, we'll dig deeper into the meaning of the words we speak, asking if we even need them at all to express our truths. If you're ready to explore language like never before and to uncover how the wrong words can impact everything from relationships to self-perception, then you've come to the right place. Let's redefine the way we communicate together. You're listening to the Wrong Words podcast.
What's up, everybody?
Hey.
Listen, if you didn't get a chance to, we want you to check out the introductory episode where we are sharing what the journey is going to look like as it relates to the Wrong Words podcast. We're excited about this. We also gave a preview of what the first word was going to be, right? So,
yes.
Listen, before we jump in, I'm Oliver.
I'm
got
Luvon.
I got my guy Luvon with me, man, and we are ready to come out the gate swinging.
So wait, Doc, before we really jump into this, I know we alluded to this word love.
Mm-hmm.
When I looked at it,
Mm-hmm.
the word stopped making sense.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, because once they hear what we're talking about, they're going to understand what we're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a really big 4-letter word, Doc.
It is.
I mean, like huge.
And you want to talk about a word that's used incorrectly.
Ugh.
Man, this is one of them.
And I'm guilty.
So am I.
Good God.
Big time. I am guilty big time. Listen, how about we do this? Since we're talking about love, let's jump in, as we will with all of these words. Let's jump into the definition so we can lay some groundwork for where we're going to go.
All right.
Let's do that. So I have 3 definitions, and we're typically going to go through 3 definitions with these words. One is the dictionary.com definition, the Merriam-Webster definition, and the Oxford English definition. So dictionary.com defines the word love as a profoundly tender, passionate affection for another person.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Profoundly tender.
That's a lot.
So, and we can come back to this, right? But
that's a lot.
It's almost contradictory. Tender, passionate affection.
Yeah.
Passionate and that's a whole nother word.
That's a whole other word.
So let's keep with the definition, and then we'll go there. So Merriam-Webster defines it as strong affection for another arising out of kinship or personal ties. And the Oxford English definition is a strong feeling of affection towards someone, especially a family member or friend. So they take it all the way away from the context of something passionate
and affectionate.
Right. And romantic.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's crazy that 3 different theologians, scholars, researchers, 3 different ways to express one word.
Yeah. They all saw it differently.
And it's 7 billion people on the planet.
Right. So one came from a place of passion, the other one came from a place of kinship, and the other one looked at it as a familial thing.
Which bucket you fall in?
So here's what's interesting. Over the years now, I find myself in all 3.
Yes.
I find myself in all 3 now because I'm married. I've been married for, at this point of recording, been married for almost 25 years.
Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
To all the married listeners,
Yeah, shout out to the married folks. But then now I have family. And in this season of my life, I'm caring for my parents. So that's the kinship, personal ties thing. But then you also have the familial piece, because I do have family and I have my own family.
Right.
So 3 kids, 1 grandchild at this point, juncture in life. So yeah, I'm swimming in all buckets.
I understand. I know early part of my life, I've never used this word before openly.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Took me a long time to wrap my mind around. I guess something that's not even defined here is the love of self.
Interesting. We'll get to that at some point when we get into the types of love.
Yeah, because these 3 define it as an outward.
Exactly.
And I think the outward is the one that we chokehold and we kill. And a lot of times we don't know we're doing that. But like I said, I didn't use this word for a long time because I didn't have the inner feeling for myself, you know?
And I feel like it's only within recent times that the focus has even shifted to what I guess we would coin the phrase self-love.
Yeah.
It's always looked at as something you do for,
right,
or do to,
yes,
right? And not something that you
nurture for yourself.
Right. That's an interesting observation, bro.
Yeah, because I think that's where the fragment usage of the word comes from. You know, I believe, and this is just my 1,000-foot look at it, the only definition that should be synonymous with love is peace. Because if you're in a quest for peace, love is right behind it.
Okay, so hold on to that, because when we get to, I want to talk about how we're using it incorrectly. When we get to how to use it correctly, bring that into the conversation, because that's powerful, actually, because that takes the concept of love that many of us have to a whole new dimension.
Correct.
Yeah, that's crazy. So check this out. Based on that, let's look at the origin of the word.
Okay.
So I have 3 as well: Old English, Proto-Germanic, and Indo-European. Right. Okay. So Old English, and I might butcher the way you say this, but the Old English word love comes from the Old English word lufu.
Okay.
Which means deep affection, love, or friendliness.
So for all of y'all that's listening that just need to do your own research, lufu is spelled L-U-F-U.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, forgive me. I may mispronounce them, especially when we get to the Greek and Hebrew. So the photo, and maybe I'll do this so you can do your own research. I'll just say this is the origin of it, right? So Proto-Germanic, the Proto-Germanic word means desire or affection, and it's spelled L-U-B-O. The Indo-European root of the word, which is L-E-U-B-H, means to care, desire, or love, ironically.
Use the word to describe the verb.
And and that can be confusing for some folks, right?
You ain't never lied.
Because let me say this, right? I'll make it personal. You said you didn't really use the word for a long time.
I didn't.
For a long time, if I go back to my childhood, I don't know that I heard the word a lot.
Okay.
In my familial circle, right? Growing up with West Indian parents, I don't know that I heard that word a lot, right?
I understand.
And so my view of that word was shaped by stuff I heard people say in school.
Okay.
And stuff that I saw on television.
I understand.
So now, when I hear the word love, I immediately go to a place of romantic involvement, because that's the only context that I was ever exposed to on a consistent basis?
That's interesting, Doc, because when I think of love, again, as I alluded to, didn't use it a lot.
Mhm.
Because I truly, at some point, believe that love is a verb. It's an action thing.
Okay.
I think we say it without the action, which sort of dilutes the word.
Mhm.
So when I said I never really used it before, it was because I didn't identify with a lot of self-love.
Mm.
You know, being able to see someone that just cared immaculately about themselves. They've identified what love looks like.
Mhm.
Being able to be in a room where profanity wasn't being used. That's just an expression of love.
Mhm.
Because now you remove the profanity, you fill that with peaceful, kind words. My life just didn't look like that.
Okay.
Yeah, my life was filled with a whole bunch of, I don't want to use the word confusion because that has its own sort of connotation.
Mhm.
Let's just say it was love juxtaposed.
Yeah, juxtaposed to whatever else
Yes,
was going on. Right?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that, you know what? That might be a lot of people's experience.
Yeah.
Because you think about, and not to make excuses, but you often hear people say, well, my parents or my grandparents did the best they could.
Yes.
Right. And so essentially, your exposure to that word is going to be through the direct lens of the person who's exposing you to it.
Right, right.
And if their context is skewed,
Hmm.
then so will yours.
Yes. As I said, if the word isn't used as a verb,
Mm-hmm.
you stagnate its growth and its ability to move.
Okay.
So the 30s love is very different than the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s love.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the only context, as you alluded to earlier, is the main staple that we understand love is the romantic,
Right.
which is probably the lowest fruit inside of the chakra.
Interesting. So if we look at the familial piece or the kinship piece,
Yes,
or
you got to come up your chakra to get to that, Doc. You got to come out of what we believe, what we think,
Mhm.
what we've been shown, and just have some real gut-wrenching discussions with ourselves so that we could dig deep.
Yeah.
Because let me say this.
Mhm.
Love and pain can't coexist. Love and hurt can't coexist.
Okay.
Because love and movement is a fact. It transcends emotions at some point.
Interesting you would say that, because that was going to be my next question to you. You said that you've always looked at love as a verb.
Yes.
Is true love, and we're talking about using the word the wrong way, right? Often love is put in the same bucket as a feeling and an emotion.
Yeah, no, they're two different things.
Two different things.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Love is the thing that you do when you don't want to do it.
Mm.
I'm tired, however, I do, but never say that I'm tired.
Okay.
I perform even though I can't. Love is giving $1 to somebody and now you're broke.
Hmm.
That's the greatest expression of action for me.
Okay. Okay.
So it's always moving. It's not, I love you today, but I hate you tomorrow. Now, remember that sign, there's a thin line between love and hate?
Mhm.
What if there was no line? It's almost like saying, and this is probably the greatest analogy that I could think about. The red light only has power to tell you to stop because the green light has the power to say go.
Right.
Love exists because we have leaned so heavily into hate, to pain, to hurt, to all that other stuff. So when I find somebody that truly loves me
Mhm.
and shows me, it's so unfamiliar that people say, well, wait a minute, you're trying to change me.
That's interesting too, because if we're taking the emotion piece of it off the table, and I think this will really come into play when we get into the different types, right? If we're looking at it as an action verb and we're taking the emotions off the table, many of us use that word incorrectly because we're using that word to actually describe an emotion that has its own word.
Correct.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, because an emotion has its own word.
That's crazy.
And
So in essence, there's some people who really say they love something or someone and they really don't.
So this is what we do love as humans. We love attributes of people.
Okay.
Love the way he looked, love the way she smelled, love the way she wore that dress, love the way they walked down the thing, love that they're kind to us. That ain't had nothing to do with the individual.
Is that love or is that euphoria?
I think it's the truest context of what love is not.
Mm.
So when we say love language,
Mhm.
love kind of really falls into act of service.
Okay.
Because I'm acting on behalf of.
Okay.
Remember we said earlier, the word love should equal peace.
Mhm.
So if I'm acting on behalf of, I'm trying to resolve, fix, prepare something to have you more peaceful.
Okay.
And since you're peaceful, that gives me peace.
So we really need to know, as it relates to this word love, we really need to know the truest definition of what it is, number one, and number two, how it's manifested. Because many of us, we like something.
Yes.
Something makes us feel good.
Yes.
Something is visually appealing.
Yes.
Something is stimulating to the senses.
Correct.
And all those other things have a word attached to it.
Yes.
But we say, I'm in love.
Based on purely senses.
Mm.
I don't mean to derail anybody.
Listen, we're not trying to start no trouble.
Right.
Yeah, we're not telling you to evaluate your
No,
love. You
no.
know what I mean? But if you think about it though, like all jokes aside, if you think about that, that gets many of us in trouble.
It got me in a bunch of trouble, Doc.
Because we're taking all these other things, sensory overload, a spike in dopamine,
Yes.
euphoria, eye candy,
Mm-hmm.
and we have wrapped all of those things in a bundle, and the bow we put on all that is I'm in love with you.
Absolutely.
And when all that fades,
I don't like you no more.
mm-mm-mm.
I mean, if we were to take it like to its simplest form, I know that I used to say I love fried chicken,
Yeah.
which really should be saying, if I love fried chicken, that means no matter who cooks it, no matter where I buy it from, no matter what it looks like, if it's fried, I should love it.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say, but it ain't taste like my mama's.
Right.
Or it don't taste like
That
Popeyes.
don't look like.
Right. It's because if I love it, it don't matter what it is, especially if it's in the context of the thing that I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's good, bro. That's good. And man, you got me thinking now, bro. I'm just thinking back to the times that I have used the word, and in no way, shape, or form was it love at all.
Yeah.
Not even remotely.
Yeah. I had a pair of shoes that I loved. The moment they started hurting my feet, I threw them away.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That sounds like the pretense of a relationship, doesn't it?
It does. And it is also, and we'll get into this in a second when we talk about the types of love. It is also contradictory to the concept of love.
Absolutely. Yep.
Because like your analogy with the chicken, you would love all chicken.
All chicken.
Right. Unconditionally.
Unconditionally. Because that's the premise of love. And you would find peace with whatever fried chicken you picked up.
So can I ask a question that might be controversial before we get into the synonyms and the types of love?
Go with it, babe.
Is it possible that many of us have actually never loved ever?
If y'all looking at the podcast, you see that my hand is up.
and I mean, and then we're laughing about it, but after the conversation we just had, and I think about the times prior to me getting married, and even getting married in the beginning, and using that word, and really just kind of soul searching in the moment right now, and just saying to myself, yeah, I didn't love anything.
Yeah.
At all.
Amen. That's a complete statement right there. Yeah, that's a complete statement.
Yeah.
To include myself.
Especially myself.
Yeah.
Which opened the door for me to be confused about loving all other stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good night, bro.
That's where we are, Doc. I don't know who chose this daggone word, but this where we are.
Yeah, we started with this.
Yes, we should at least
we should have built up to that.
learn how to crawl first before we showed up running.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, but yeah, this is a good one. And for those of you who are listening, listen. Again, we're not telling you what to think. We're having a conversation and infusing these elements of definition and origin and things of that nature so that it causes you to really do a deep dive into what's happening with you and how you use this word, how you see it, whether you are able to admit that the word has been used wrong in your life. And if so, what are the adjustments that need to be made?
All right, so let's do a scriptural reference.
Okay, let's do it.
Corinthians, it says, love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. I didn't see any of these words used from the dictionary.
None of them. And here's the thing. If you were to keep going in that scriptural reference, here's a big kicker. It doesn't keep record of wrong. Now, I just recently had a discovery call with a potential client.
Wait. Say that again. It doesn't do what again?
It does not keep record of wrong.
I need them to rest for a minute because I need to take my breath for a minute.
Yeah.
Because that's a heavy thought.
That's a chest punch.
Yeah, I'm going to say, wait. Yeah.
That's a chest punch.
It didn't say accountable. It just said keep record.
It doesn't keep record.
Wow.
Which means if you truly love someone
or something
and it doesn't turn out in that particular moment the way you anticipated, that the next moment will never be indicative of or tied to or a reminder of the previous moment.
Wait. Let me wrap my mind around that.
That's a tough one, bro.
Yeah, so wait. The moment I love has nothing to do with the next moment.
Exactly.
Because every moment thereafter, I should still love it.
And especially if the prior moment was unsatisfactory.
See, now that's the point. That's the
crazy
point
right
there. That's
there,
the point right there, Doc. That ain't got nothing to do with forgiveness. That ain't for humility. That ain't none of that.
Yeah.
It just says should not keep record.
Yep.
That don't say forgive.
Mm-hmm.
That don't say grace. That says should not keep record.
Right.
Like you ain't grabbed a pen, Doc. You ain't.
Right. So you think about it from a relational standpoint, right? There's so many couples who go through this. I've seen this sitting in front of couples where a big issue for them is, man, every time we have an argument, he or she brings up all this other stuff that I thought we had dealt with already.
Right.
Because they kept record of it.
Okay.
And they kept record of it so that they could leverage it.
Yeah.
So you can argue based on the scriptural reference that if you're keeping record.
Don't say the last part. because that's going to ruffle.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's go back again.
Okay.
The reason why I say that it's an action thing is because you do it in spite of. It has to keep moving.
Right.
Eesh.
And one of the purest examples of that is a parent that loves their child.
Absolutely. Might not like their ass all the time, but they still show up as a parent. I think that is the epitome of what true love is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, and men, don't crucify me. I'm not sure if we have anything close to the love that a mother has for a child after she carried it for 9 months and nurtured it and gave birth to it. I mean, we love our children. We will support, we will nurture, we'll provide, we'll show up to basketball games, champion them on, do workshops, do homework. We do that. But do we really understand what being a part of something inside of, I mean, that love is incredible to me.
Yeah.
That's at
its purest form.
Yeah, good God. I can't imagine.
Yeah. Which kind of speaks to now, if we're looking at ways to use the word correctly.
Look to women.
You got to look at its purest example.
Yeah, and mothers are the purest examples of that. Now, here is what's interesting about that. Society has said, sorry for that Freudian slip, that they go through something, and I forgot what it's called. Like, you have a child, and you go through this period to where you don't like the child, but then you sort of reunite yourself with it.
Okay.
And I always thought that was an interesting phenomenon or seed to plant from the world or from the hospital. And it was just very interesting, like, why create an era of doubt that this thing that I gave birth to that was connected to me that I don't love? Our behaviors just shift a little bit. I think for men, it's fear, because I have 2 children. I was afraid of my kids, man. I was afraid to hold them, carry them. I was afraid to spank them. I was afraid to say certain things. I was afraid of some of my behaviors because I didn't want it to rub off. Didn't mean I didn't love them. It was just I was timid.
Right.
And maybe that was my outward display sometimes, what gave them an opportunity. You really don't love us, do you?
And that's a piece we didn't talk about, right? Is because we're talking about it from the vantage point of being the provider of love.
Yes.
But now, in terms of how it's used wrong, you got to kind of look at the recipient too, because
Absolutely.
You have individuals, and I'm doing this strictly from a romantic context. You have individuals who act a certain way, who treat people a certain way, and in no way, shape, or form are they trying to push them into falling in love. That's not even where they are, but the recipient is now like, oh, they did this, and they said this.
They must love me. That's called infatuation.
And again, emotions that have other words attached to them that we have chosen to categorize as something different.
I remember when I was young, one day, my mother disciplined me. And she says, I'm only doing this because I love you. Never understood that.
I've heard that one before too.
Never understood what she meant until I had children of my own.
Okay.
In her passion, in her compassion, in her kind type love base, discipline equated to love to correct something. So again, in her love language of correction, it still was moving. It moved me in a way, speaking to the recipient now, of the person who has to hold on to whatever that word is, or whatever that action is that supports the word. But it's interesting, Doc, how as I even sit here and reflect on the wrong usage of the word, I've been way off for a long time, Doc. Like a long time.
I think a lot of us have been.
Man.
I think a lot of us have been, and I think that word has been so watered down.
Yeah.
That word has become a blanket word of sorts for a whole lot of other things.
It's like fill in the blank.
Right. And if we really took the time, and hopefully this experience, this journey that we're on with wrong words will allow all of us, not just me and you, but our community to do this as well, is to really think about how accurate our words are.
Yeah.
And how lazy are we becoming in terms of grouping a whole bunch of things under one word?
That's a good word, though, lazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just to say the word is easy, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the easy way.
Yeah, it's easy to categorize all these 10 things as that because I don't necessarily take the time to say, okay, no, you know, I'm feeling euphoric right now.
Right.
And let's enjoy this moment.
Yeah.
But let's not, and I'm doing this romantically, let's not get married based on some euphoria we feel tonight.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's probably not wise.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. But you know, speaking in the romantic space, we will say to each other very quickly, I don't know you that well.
Mm-hmm.
And then go home and tell our friends, I think I love that nigga.
Right. Right.
Or, no, I can't meet your family yet. You act like we ready to get married.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to get familiar with you.
Right.
Love just is like an umbrella in the rain of all other words.
It is. And I think we do that with a lot of words, man. I think that it's and listen, I don't take offense. I'm not calling anyone lazy, but when I use the word lazy, I mean I think that we as human beings have the propensity to take the easy road.
Yes.
Or the other side of that coin is we don't educate ourselves enough about what we are saying to make sure that it comes out in an intelligent way.
Yeah.
Which means now the recipient has a skewed idea of what you're trying to convey because you used the wrong word.
I think that's the premise of this entire podcast. Wrong words create wrong conversations, which create wrong outcomes, which creates wrong stories, which create wrong dreams. I think Wrong Word Podcast is truly created for one thing. Let's create new possibilities.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just using the word wrong in its full context, not in its little things that we talked about. Because the way that we use love in those moments may be the truest essence in that moment.
Right.
I think what we're really exploring is if it's in that moment, how can we have that moment be a continuum? How can it go to the next moment and the next moment and the next moment? How does it really matter, or when does it really matter? And if it's a moment when we don't feel like it, can it still matter?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's good. And that kind of takes us to, as we kind of come down to the end of this, that kind of takes us to the right, and I'm doing that in air quotes, usage of the word, right? And I think some of that might be wrapped up in the types of love.
Okay.
Right. And so we were looking at the types of love, and I have to admit, I was only familiar with 3 of them.
Me too, Don.
Until we actually looked these up.
Yeah, when you did the research and sent me this, I was like, what the hell are these other 3?
Right. Yeah. So, but I think this will kind of give, and again, what we want our community to do is really kind of just think through this for yourself, right? But I think this will give you something to chew on as it relates to your thought process around how to use this word correctly.
So again, I want everybody to know that we're not Rhodes Scholars.
No.
We're not research errors. We're not Harvard graduates. We're just 2 guys that thought about doing some research to check ourselves.
Right.
Because as a man, if we can't lead then I believe that our village is lost. That's just my vantage point.
Okay.
I believe that I need to know how to accurately use words for those that I associate with,
Agreed.
which I don't want to take assumptions anymore.
Right.
I don't want to say, you knew what I meant. I don't want to say, well, wait, I don't understand what you're saying. I don't want to do, and I've heard this from several pastors. Won't you J-Rock around the block with me? No, let's get to the point. Yeah, let's get to the,
Right.
We shouldn't have to beat around the bush when we talk
Right.
anymore.
Right. And that can be a slippery slope too, into using the wrong words.
Yes.
Because typically what happens when you recognize that you're using the wrong words, now you are in a space where either you just got to live with the consequences, or you're spending a lot of energy retracting and backtracking.
Yes. Which, in hindsight, and I'm going to use that word, and I know people are laughing, changes your intention behind the word.
Right.
Because the moment I don't think you understand, I think I need to change what I've said.
And if we put that in the context of love, that is dangerous.
Yes. Because I can't say I loved you in that red dress, but that black one don't look good.
Right.
Yeesh.
Or I love anything, or any aspect of this, and then tomorrow I don't.
Correct. Wow. So that I'm clear. It's almost as if love don't need support. It's either
it is or it isn't. Yep.
That's just kind of sort of it, right?
Yeah, that's my thought process.
Yeah, and that's a heavy one, Doc.
Right.
And
what that will do now is that it will force us, for lack of a better word, to start using the right word for in its right context.
Correct.
So if you're in a moment, again, I'm going to, my context for this is always going to be romantic because that's the space I live in. But if you are having a wonderful time with someone and you all are laughing, you're clicking on all cylinders, man, you guys think the same, man, the attraction is there, the chemistry is there, the endorphins are kicking in, what you might call love hormones are spiking. You don't have to be like, man, I really love you.
Right.
You could just say, man, I am really enjoying this moment.
Yes.
Period.
I guess that probably, again, is the premise of love. If I can love that moment, I want to make an agreement with myself first, and then with the other person that we want to have as many of these moments as possible.
Yeah.
Because now love moves. It's not stuck at the ice cream stand. It's not stuck at the movies. It's not stuck on the cruise.
Right.
It's not stuck at our wedding. It's not stuck at our engagement. It's not stuck at the moment you gave me the ring. It's not stuck at when we gave birth to our first kid. It's not stuck at when we bought a house. Love always has to move.
Right. It transcends all that.
Absolutely, Doc.
Man, so check this out. Share some, before we go, share some of the different types that kind of jumped out at you.
So when you shot me this, again, I was accustomed to eros.
Yep.
Erotic, passionate, sexual love that be all that you need. You know what I mean? I get that. I mean, like, I'm a man, understand that one. And here is what's funny. I didn't know that this had a word, this type of love, ludus.
Neither did I.
Ludus.
Yeah, that was completely new to me.
Now, I believe we reside here as humans a lot. A casual, fun, and long-lasting love that's usually platonic. It can be a continuation of filial beyond initial friendship stage. Okay. So just that last statement, it can be a continuation, which means that at some point that ludus needs to grow to something else.
Okay.
Because it can't stay casual and fun, Doc.
And so here's the interesting thing about this particular type of love is I dare say, and I don't have any statistics for this, but I would dare say that this particular type of love is where people get in trouble. Because casual, fun, long lasting, right? That's typically platonic. We know, and I'm only speaking from my own male purview. So for those of you who are listening, I'm not categorizing everybody into this. But I was having a conversation with somebody and they were saying that it is impossible for you to have a platonic friendship with somebody of the opposite sex that is casual, fun, and long lasting without somebody at some point being like, I wonder. Now that's a whole nother conversation, but that's what I thought when I read this. I was like, how is this type of love, Ludus, is this sustainable really long term for them to be able to use the title long lasting? Or does that just speak to the fact that we need to make some character adjustments?
Well,
that's a whole nother conversation.
I'm not going to touch that one.
Yeah, we leave that alone. That's a whole nother conversation. Yeah, what else jumped out at you?
That's way too big.
Anything else jumped out at you?
I didn't know that there was a love called storage.
Yeah, storage, yeah.
Family love, or the love between parents and their children, is born out of familiarity or dependency. Now, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Parents have this stored thing. Mm-hmm. It's almost as if it won't exhaust itself for the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, think of your storeroom.
It regenerates.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the moment you run out of toilet paper, you just go and
put some back in there.
Yes, sir. And that's interesting. That I never knew that existed.
Yeah.
Or that it was defined as something.
Mm-hmm.
I did know obsessive love was a thing. Mm-hmm. Also known as mania. The unhealthy type of love may be characterized by jealousy, obsession, or possessiveness. Mm-hmm. Now, I've been to a place where this is probably more evident than not.
Okay.
And it's called the penitentiary.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that it was an obsessive love. I didn't even know that you could put those two words together. Mm-hmm. I know that I'm obsessed, but I've never heard a person say, I was obsessively in love with this person. Mm-hmm. I know they used all of these other things, jealousy,
possessiveness, yeah,
obsession. Oh,
yeah.
That just sounds like the lowest part of love, doesn't it, Doc?
That's the unhealthy version, which we didn't really talk about this either, but I think for a lot of these that we'll end up talking about, there is a healthy execution of the word and an unhealthy execution of the word.
So listen to what you just said. That word execution is a verb because it still moves. It's still doing something.
Still doing something. And the efficacy of the word itself can be evaluated by the result of what's done.
Correct.
So if it's being built up, we know we're probably on the positive side.
Yes.
If it's being torn down, we know it's probably on the unhealthy side.
And you just described where the love resides in the chakras. Mm-hmm. The moment we go to the lower, we tear it down, Doc. Mm-hmm. We only think in one way. But that other one that I described, the first one, Ludus, I think that casual thing, but then it said it can be a continuation, like a continuation. You got to get through this. Mm-hmm. Like you got to go up your chakra. You got to go up to your brain. You got to get out of this thing. Let's bypass the heart for a second and let's reside love into some fact, which results into some peace.
Yeah. Which I think you have to do anyway, because if not, you're creating your narratives based on emotion.
Yes.
And emotions are unstable.
Always.
So if you're going to, it's like you understand this because you come from the rehab and real estate and building world, right? If you build on a faulty foundation,
right,
it don't matter how phenomenal the thing is you build.
Correct.
If that foundation wobbles, all that other stuff gonna wobble too.
Yes, and eventually fall apart, dog.
Right.
And that's interesting that you used the thing that I do for a career, build or design houses. Not only does the house fall, but it hurts all the occupants.
Exactly. It tears up everything that you built.
Yep.
And everything that's dependent on what was built.
Yes.
Yeah. Crazy, bro.
Wow.
Last thing I'll say before we get out of here, one that jumped out at me, and it's the one that we're hearing more of in this day and age, but it is the Felucia, I think is how you pronounce that, self-love, or how a person views themselves and how they feel about their own body and mind.
Yeah.
And I think and this is, I think, a great way to wrap this conversation, to give folks something to think about. I think if we spent more time focusing on developing that love, it may answer some questions about all the other types.
It does. Because the way we present ourselves is how we're received. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, and we say it, we just don't believe it. I mean, we'll say stuff, just so crazy. I went to the dentist the other day and my dentist's breath stinks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Those two things shouldn't go together because he's the dentist.
Right.
Or I went to my hairdresser or my barber and his hair was jacked up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like those two things don't go together.
Right.
It's like I went to jazzercise and my instructor was overweight. Those two things don't kind of sort of go together. You know what I mean?
But that speaks to, especially as it relates to wrong words, that speaks to what we have grown to accept.
Yes.
In the way of disparity, right? So we don't even hold ourselves accountable enough to say, okay, I don't love myself. How can I be in love with you?
So here's another way of saying it, though, Doc. Listen to this, and this is crazy. I don't love myself enough to walk away.
Mm. Okay.
I love myself not enough to accept.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We accept more than we love. We put up with more than we love. Now, the love is, again, it's not an external thing. I know for me, let me make this personal so as not to offend. I've been in some relationships where I did not want to be by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed in it.
Okay.
Because I didn't love myself enough to create the possibility that I wanted.
Got you. Yeah. Wow.
And the only possibility was peace, which again, I stated is synonymous with love.
Mm.
And I'm only talking about me. Don't crucify me for talking about me.
Right.
That's all I'm talking about.
Yeah. Man, that's good, man. Listen, I know that this has sparked some thoughts in our audience, in our community, and that's all we're trying to do. We want you to now think about this. We're not saying you got to tear down anything that you've created. We're not saying you got to get rid of the folk you say you love. None of that. But take some time to really evaluate how you view this word, how you've used this word in the past, and how you intend to use it moving forward.
And to make sure that actions line up with the usage of the word.
Indeed. I like it. I think that's a good place to land. Listen, we hope that you all have gotten something from this that will spark some interest, that will spark some conversation, that will spark some introspective thought as we journey through this Wrong Words podcast. We are going to be doing this in every episode, sharing our purview while encouraging you to explore your own. All right. And with that said, listen, blessings on you. Be cognizant of this word, love.
Be kind to yourself.
Be kind to yourself. We out of here.
Thank you for coming, Oliver.
Hey, thank you.
I appreciate it, my friend.
I appreciate you, man. We out of here. And until next time, you all be good.
Thank you for joining us on the Wrong Words podcast. We're so glad you took the time to listen, and we hope this episode gave you something to think about, question, and explore. If you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. We'd also love for you to rate and review the show. Your feedback helps us reach more people with these important discussions. And don't keep it to yourself. Share this podcast with someone who might find it helpful or inspiring. Be sure to subscribe to the Wrong Words podcast on YouTube for more content, and follow us on social media to stay connected and to be a part of the community we're building. Until next time, God bless.